In this video, we're going to show you how to install PPF on the bottom part of the liftgate on a Model Y standard. And just a difference is it actually has a softer edge right here and actually protrudes down a little bit lower than the premium or the performance model. So it is actually a different design, just so you know. So if you are ordering, make sure you order the standard, performance, or premium based on what you actually have, okay? So before we get started, let's go ahead and do a really quick wipe down. We have our microfiber that's provided here, and we're just going to do a really quick wipe down and make sure you did wash your car. And then we're going to go around the edges because this does wrap around certain parts of the edges. So we're kind of getting underneath and we're getting some of that dirt that's collected over the course of time. Okay, so now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and spray slip solution all around it. And immediately also, there's some contamination already, so I already see that. So I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing next in order to combat that. I actually have it on a box. You can use anything to kind of hold the trunk so that it's not all the way in. The reason why I like going all the way, not all the way, but just a little bit open like this, is so that I can have the edges free up instead of sticking to this paddle right here. So that's kind of why I do this. Okay. So now that we have this sprayed, let's go ahead and just use our squeegee and just do a final clean. And you can go from one side to another. And what this does is we're getting rid of all the contamination that might be sitting on the surface of this paint. And then we're going to go ahead and go back with our slip solution. And you see how much I'm actually spraying. That is normal. You want to kind of go overboard a little bit with the slip solution. I have my piece right here. I'm going to orient myself a little bit so I have the right area. And then I'm going to go ahead and get this all the way up. Amazing. Oops. Oh, there we go. All right. That wasn't pretty. So typically I had to hold the bottom of the roll. It kind of fell out accidentally. So when that happened, that's what happened. So hopefully it's a little bit easier for you. But the main thing is typically we recommend to do this on a table. So if you have like a 4x8 table or or 3x6 table or something like that, put it on it, peel it and spray underneath it, peel the other side, and then that's how we recommend actually doing that, okay? So just a disclaimer there. And then once we're good and it's on the surface, notice how I'm spraying the pieces quite liberally, right? I mean, I'm putting a lot of that slip solution in there. And you can notice that some areas are already stuck. Well, it's already drying out. So that's part of the thing, right? It's gotta be a good balance. You don't want to be too sticky, but you also don't want it to be too grabby where it's going to be really hard for you to move around, right? So if you have this bigger bubbles, I like kind of massaging them out first. All right, guys? All right, so once we're good, this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to make sure we spray the top layer. We're going to grab our squeegee, and we're going to go ahead and align this corner right here. If you notice, it has a little cutout. And then this bottom one, we also want to make sure we're good, like so, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start with the top right here. Just make sure that we're good. We're tacked. Okay, that's really good actually. Amazing. Awesome. All right, so we're actually going to go to the other side. All right, during this time, I understand a lot of people are kind of moving slower because this is probably their first install ever. That's okay. Make sure you hydrate it before you keep moving forward, right? That is such an important aspect of any sort of installation. So once we're at this position, right, I'm getting all those bigger bubbles out again. We're going to go ahead and move from the center. Okay, this is very important. Move from the center and then just move that material across just a little bit, like so, right? And you're looking at the bottom and the top. Okay, once you feel comfortable, you can actually squeegee this. I know I didn't tack it, but honestly, it should be fine. And you can see this bottom fits perfectly, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and just loosely squeegee that down. Okay. And the same thing over here. All right. We're going to go ahead and make sure that this is good as well. All right, amazing. So all of this is good to go. All four corners are good. Now, you can actually move this up and down. If you can't, it means that it dried a little bit too early, but that's okay. You can actually free this up again. There we go. All right, so when you free it up though, make sure you spray some of this flip solution in there so you can kind of move around. All right, so now that we've freed it up, look at this. You could actually go up and down like so to make sure the alignment is good. And you're looking at the bottom so that you don't have too much, but also not too little. And then once you're happy with the top edge, you can actually move all that slip solution up. There's actually a good amount of material, space right there. And then after this is the fun part. I like going kind of outwards first, and then after that, you can move everything down. And then same thing here, you can move outwards. Okay, and then move everything downwards. Okay, notice how I'm starting at the top of this body line right here, because that area does hold a lot of that moisture. Okay, we're going to go ahead and bring this down. Awesome. You can be a little bit more aggressive too. And then afterwards, it's going to bring everything down. Just like that. Okay, now that we have everything completely squeegee, we're going to do that one more time. So start with this. You can actually see some areas here. And then after that, I can just go down. Same thing, go above that body line and then work your way down. Don't worry too much about those fingers right there. I'll show you how to get it out. All right, so that area likes to hold a lot of moisture. So before we actually move on, we're going to spray a good amount of Tack solution in there. And you're just going to go ahead and seal this, because if you don't, moisture is going to keep coming down and you're going to deal with that later. And you don't want that, and you might have a bubble later down the line, okay? So you're just making sure that the whole area is completely sealed. Next, we're going to go ahead and tackle this area. You know, we have this small little finger that just kind of persisting a little bit. Spray some Tack. It's a very small one, so I don't think it'll give you too much problems. And then that is gone. All right, so next we're going to go ahead and spray down all your edges. Actually, let's get rid of this first. Any sort of, there we go. Same thing here. And then bottom. And then I'm just going to go ahead and go right to it. All right. So all the edges, as you can see, are completely good. And now they're, basically, we sprayed the slip away with the Tack solution. And what you want to do, there's actually two ways you can do this. You can actually let this sit for a few hours, move on to the next panel, and you can keep going, and then fold over the edges later. That is an option. But if you want, you could actually get it down right away. And if you want to do that, you do want to spray some Tack. I always like starting with this higher point right here. And you're just going to push this, kind of roll your finger over this area, just like that. Okay, and then you can use a squeegee, making sure there's no moisture. And then you could use a smaller squeegee at this point, and then make sure you're holding it down, and then you kind of work your way kind right here. That's great. Like I said, you can just use some of that. Look at that. Such a good edge right there. All right, so there's another high point here. So I like starting with this and making sure that all of them are good right there. And then I kind of hold this point, and then you can use your squeegee to get other areas. When you're doing this, just make sure you're watching these edges. Moisture will want to come back right there, I'm telling you. So then you're just ready to go. Making sure that no moisture is on those edges. And then you just keep continuing until you get rid of all of these. Fold over this corner first, like that. And notice how I did that corner, and then I use a squeegee to kind of roll over that edge. That is a very important technique, is to roll over that edge. Okay, and then you could spray a lot more slit. I have another high point right here. You're gonna do the same thing, roll over that edge, making sure that no moisture sits right there. Just kind of continue this route. Perfect, and then I have a really good edge, and it gets fully protected. This trunk area can be a little bit of a problem, right? You really want to protect this. We open this, close this all the time. So that's kind of why we had a little bit more coverage in these areas right here. And you can see this whole area is completely done. Just like all the other edges, it's a good practice to kind of come back to it, especially later, to make sure that no moisture came back up, or the edges didn't come back up. And if it did, if it's dried, you can just heat it up, or just use your finger and then push it down, and you should be good to go. So for this bottom part, it actually is the same. So we already had flushed this out, and I mean, you could start from the center if you wanted to. I don't think it matters too much, but what I would do is we're just gonna go and open it up because it's far easier. So about your head level or your eye level really, and then you're just kind of folding it over like this. And then while you're doing this, you just kind of roll your thumb, right? Because when you do this, it's like acting like a flexible squeegee, and you're getting all that moisture out around those edges. And I do go a little bit more aggressive, but I am using, my squeegee right here. And you can even use the squeegee. So just kind of, there we go. Boom. Just like that. So because it's already open, guys, it won't be hard to kind of look at it from this side. And then certain areas that's kind of popping back up, just spray more Tack solution. And then you can continue to use your squeegee to kind of get a little bit more aggressive with the squeegee, and that tends to help a lot with for it to stick, right? Because sometimes like our fingers might not have enough to kind of let this stick. But with this squeegee, and you can use a smaller one too, if you're comfortable doing that, and then that should help. But you're gonna go ahead and finish all the way around. I'll just show you, let's just finish it since we're already here. All right, so we got one tip too, when you are doing this part, is just be aware of the top part, so none of the moisture comes back to the top part of it, right? So occasionally you could kind of close that tailgate and kind of inspect it before fully anchoring this all down, all of this. Okay, so we're gonna do it one more time. This is the last part. Awesome, so now your bottom part of the liftgate panel is completely protected and you're good to go.